Hello, everyone. This is Sam Zakarian, one of the instructors for Chicago Real Estate School, continuing with our series of videos. This session is going to cover Chapter 8, which starts on page 101 of your textbook, the 10th edition. Now, Chapter 8 deals with environmental issues. First thing I want to mention to all of you is that none of you, as licensed real estate agents, are experts on these environmental issues. You have clients that have any concerns about environmental issues. Your job is to guide them to the websites, to the pamphlets, so they could study that on their own. Just be careful about going beyond your scope of authority. So, page 101, the very first paragraph, I'd like you to highlight, put an X by that. We'll talk about the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency, the Illinois EPA, is the agency that is responsible for maintaining our air, land, and water quality. And they do this through monitoring violators. They do this by education. They do this by finding violators. Now, that next paragraph where it says asbestos, actually the next 4 paragraphs under asbestos, highlight, put X's by them. Now, asbestos is a fire retardant material. At one time, it was used in over 3,000 different types of building material. It was used in bricks, cement. It was used in roofing shingles, ceiling tiles, ceramic tiles, vinyl floor tiles. It's used in the insulation. Now, asbestos is a fiber. It's a very fine fiber. It's about 1,500 times smaller and finer than the human hair. And then what happens just by touching it, it goes right through the pores of your skin. It is a known human carcinogen, so it does cause cancer being exposed to it. They have barbs on them, like fishhook barbs, that if you inhale them, they don't dissolve in your lungs or your stomach. You can't get rid of them. And that's where people quite often develop cancer. So it is a hazard. Now, what I do want you to know is the second paragraph from the bottom. It says that if there is asbestos present in the property, the first choice is not removing asbestos, because by removing asbestos, you put more contaminants in the air. The first choice is called encapsulation. It's in bold in that paragraph. Encapsulation is a method of sealing disintegrating asbestos. Now, let's go on to top of page 102. I'd like you to highlight, put an X by the first 4 paragraphs. You can highlight all those bullets underneath. Lead-based paint. Now, up to 1978, and this is the crucial that you remember this year. Anything built before 1978, any residential property built before 1978, if you're selling or renting a property, you must give them a lead-based paint pamphlet and the lead-based paint disclosure. The lead-based paint disclosure is signed by both agents, the listing agent, the selling agent, by the seller and the buyer. Now, the seller does not need to go out and have a company, a lead abatement company, check to verify that there's lead, just to their knowledge, and they must fill that out. Again, given to any potential buyer or any potential tenant before they sign a lease or sign a contract. Lead, the reason they use lead in paint, well, was several reasons. One, it made it dry quicker. It made the colors more brighter. It made it last longer, and also kind of fill in the gaps, the cracks inside the walls. That's the way they use the lead in paint. Now, lead is not only found in paint. Lead is found in gasoline. Piping has lead in it. At one time, the entire city of Chicago had lead pipes in it, but they changed them to cast iron. Sometimes the connection from the main pipe, the main line, water line to the house, there might be some lead pipe there or lead solder. And so that might be an issue too. But again, none of you are experts on whether or not it's lead. They have concerns, they could check it out for themselves. See, lead is not a problem. It's not a problem to us as adults. The problem is to children. If they get exposed to this lead or they eat the lead paint chips, for example, it gets in their blood system quite quickly, attacks their nervous system. But the worst thing that it does it causes brain damage. It destroys millions and millions and millions of their brain cells. So I know that under the age of 7 in the city of Chicago and most communities in this country, that you cannot enroll your children in a school system unless they've been tested for lead. Don't forget the year is 1978, which again, if you go to the very bottom of page 103, I believe. Let me just flip my book over. Yeah, the very bottom of page 103, the first two lines there. The year to remember, 1978. Now, let's go on to page 104. The first two paragraphs, they talk about radon. Now, radon is a odorless, colorless gas. It comes from uranium. It comes from shale and other rocks in the ground. Now, generally, it's a heavy gas that only accumulates in the basement area, but it can get above that too. So the thing is, it is required that if you're renting or selling a house or a condo up to the third floor, the agents have to provide the radon pamphlet and the radon disclosure on that rental unit or that sale of that house, residential sale. Radon is also a known human carcinogen. Radon is the second leading cause of lung cancer in this country. Right after cigarette smoking, more people will get cancer from radon. Now, here's an interesting fact. Newer homes today have more radon than older homes because newer homes are more tightly insulated and sealed. And radon seeps in through the cracks in the foundation or the basement floor, and it cannot escape. Older homes are generally more draftier. It didn't say that they have less radon, but there's more in the newer homes. So just be aware that there are procedures that a homeowner can take by installing they call it PVC piping with an electric motor that takes the radon out of the house into the air. Once it's outside, it's not a issue. It's when it's confined, like in a basement area. So that's radon. Now, let's go on to page 105. Excuse me. Right in the middle of the page where it says formaldehyde. I'd like you to highlight, put X by those two paragraphs there. This is called formaldehyde, also called urea formaldehyde foam insulation. Now, what formaldehyde is, it's a chemical that undertakers use to preserve dead bodies. Formaldehyde is also a chemical that's used to decaffeinate coffee, tea, and soda. Urea formaldehyde is used in, actually, it's used in every domestic beer brewed in this country. Imports don't have that. It's also a cleaning agent. Every cleaning product you have in your home has urea formaldehyde. It's a man-made chemical. United States produce, well, the gross national product of what the United States produces, 6% of it is urea formaldehyde. It's used in every single cleaning product you have in your home. It's used in your Tide detergent, is used in your Windex, your SOS pads, your spick and span. They have that urea formaldehyde in it. Also, some of you might not be aware of this, but if you ever walk into a furniture store and you know that new furniture smell, some people like that new, for a new sofa, new mattress smell. Some people like the smell of a new carpeting. Or sometimes people like the smell of a new car. Some of you like the smell of the new car. Let me tell you what you're breathing is urea formaldehyde. They say you should never buy carpeting, furniture, or a new car. In the wintertime, you buy in the spring and summer, you can open up your windows, air it out. The longer it's there, less of a hazard it is. So be familiar with the urea formaldehyde. Carbon monoxide, the last paragraph highlight, put an X by that one. Now, carbon monoxide is an odorless, colorless gas that comes from unclean burning of fuel. Now, carbon monoxide will get you nauseated. Carbon monoxide could put you in a coma, and carbon monoxide could kill you. They said there are 3,000 accidental carbon monoxide deaths in this country every year. It is a requirement in the state of Illinois since 2007 that you got to have a carbon monoxide detector within 50 feet of every bedroom, and it should be near anything open flame like furnace, hot water tank, things like that. It should be there. Now, a lot of homes don't have carbon monoxide detectors because a lot of homeowners think that a smoke detector and a carbon monoxide detector is the same thing. They're totally different things. So you got to have a carbon monoxide detector. Now, I'm going to tell you something. It's not on a test, but I want you to be aware of it. And if this will help you in your career. As of January 1st, 2024, state of Illinois passed a law that all residential dwellings must have the 10-year battery life tamper-proof smoke detectors in their home. If they don't have that, they could get fined up to $100 a day for 15 days. That went into effect January 1st, 2024. That's in the state of Illinois. City of Chicago passed a similar law on January 1st, 2024, that they have to have a 10-year life tamper-proof battery, unless they have a hardwire system, for smoke detectors in their house. This is the city of Chicago law. Now, if you don't have that, the homeowner could get fined up to $100 a day. They could go back years even, and also they could even go to jail for that too. So I want you to be aware that that's more for your own information once you're a licensed agent and you're, uh, you know, listing a property for sale. Now, in the middle of the page of 106, where it says electromagnetic fields, like it highlight, put an X by that. Now, any electrical current is producing electromagnetic fields. They call them EMFs. Your computer, your TV, lights, radio, anything that produces electric current produces EMFs. In the alleys where they have those power transformers, those are producing EMFs. In the suburbs where they have those silver towers with the lines going through those are producing EMFs. What you need to know, and it's in the middle of that paragraph, electromagnetic fields are suspected of causing cancer. They're not proven of causing cancer. That's what you need to know about that one. Let's go to that next paragraph where it says mold, highlight, put an X by mold. Excuse me, I need a sip of water. Now, as far as mold is concerned, there are over 2,000 different types of mold. There's mold that grows in daylight. There's mold that grows in darkness. There's mold that grows in dry air. There's mold that grows in dampness. Uh, Mold is a problem to a lot of people, especially children. They're a lot more sensitive to having mold, and probably because their immune systems are not as good for some whatever reason. So, um, if you suspect it is a health hazard, and if you suspect there's mold in the house, yeah, what you should do absolutely is get a professional to check it for mold. It's very difficult to get rid of mold. One thing I want to warn you about as an agent, because I've heard of agents doing this, they tell their clients, you know what, take some bleach sprayed on the mold and it'll go away. That's not going to solve that mold problem. So do not give them home style remedies because that's not solving the problem. Okay. Don't open yourself up to any of those liabilities. Now, let's go on to page 107 where it says groundwater protection. I'd like you to highlight, put an X by that. Now, when it rains, the dirt is a filter system. The dirt filters out the impurities in the water. Then water gets trapped between rocks. They sink a well, they pump it out, and they drink it. Well, what's been going on the last several decades? More and more farmers and stuff have been using pesticides, insecticides on these crops. And then when it rains, even though the dirt filters out the majority of the contaminants in the water, it's not filtering out everything. So even today, there's more contaminants in the water, even in well water. So they have to be aware of that. Underground storage tanks, the very last paragraph, you can highlight, put an X by that one. And on page 108, the first couple of paragraphs, You can highlight as well. Underground storage tanks. If anyone has any type of fuel that's 10% or more underground, then they have to have the reports on it, because if those tanks leak, it could cause, it's a big environmental issue. It's a big environmental issue. The contaminated soil is very costly to clean up. So you got to be aware of that. Now, again, what's called LUS, leaky underground storage tanks, as long as there's 10% of piping or tanks underground, they have to address that issue. Now, let's go on to page, let's see, so 110. Yes, page 110. The third paragraph down where it says surplus, super fund, like you to highlight, put X by that paragraph, highlight, put X by the next 1, 2, 3, 4 paragraphs as well. CERCLA, Comprehensive Environmental Response Compensation and Liability Act. Now, this law created by Congress in 1980, and it created a fund in 1980, a fund of $9 million to respond to any type of hazardous spill. Any type of hazardous spill. Now, the current owner could be liable if there's some type of contamination in the ground and underneath their property, whether they knew about it or not. They can even go back to previous owners on that. Now, this $9 billion that's supposed to take care of hazardous spills was actually supposed to last for 5 years. They spent that $9 billion in 6 months. So right now, Congress will appropriate millions of dollars, well, at least 3 times a year, to make sure they have this fund in there. And let's say a truck crashes on the expressway, spills diesel fuel, it's for that as well. Clean up and respond to any type of hazardous spills. Now, again, what I want you to know as an agent, you are not the experts in these environmental issues. Anyone does have a concern, your job is to guide them to the right resources, give them the pamphlets, and let them know about this. Now, the only thing is, one thing I want to mention to you, as a licensed agent, and you are selling any type of commercial property, you got to make sure, especially if it's an auto body shop or some type of a garage, that they have to do a environmental audit on that property. Otherwise, the bank won't even consider making the loan. Sometimes the seller might have that. Now, on page 111, it's almost well, right about the middle of the page where it says phase 1 environmental audit. So whenever you sell any type of commercial property, you could ask the seller if they have a environmental audit assessment done on their property. If not, the buyer's going to have to pay for the environmental audit, and it has to be given to the bank. They won't even consider doing the loan until they have that environmental audit. It's called a phase 1 environmental audit. And that's to see if there's any possible problems with the contamination of soil or anything else like that. Now, if they do suspect something, then they have to do a phase 2 audit on that property. So I want you to be aware of that as you go in your real estate career. And that's basically it on this chapter. Oh, there's one more disclosure I want to talk about. Illinois has what's called a property disclosure. Anyone buys any residential property, there's a form that has 24 questions. If they know of any seepage, deflection, electrical problem, well, make sure it is a requirement that you have that and must be included and given to any potential buyers. But please make sure that you, as an agent, get this filled out by the seller of the property, not by you. Seller needs to fill that out. For some reason, they don't speak English or something. You cannot interpret that information. Let them go to a professional or family member. Let them go to a family member to figure that out. Okay, so that's a property disclosure. But the most common type of disclosure that goes with contracts is the lead-based paint, because that's a federal law. That's a federal law. Radon is Illinois, and so is the property disclosure. So that is the most common type of disclosure. Now, that short chapter, that's the end of chapter 8. You have any questions, you can always talk to your instructor. Don't forget to continue to do the chapter quizzes at the end of these chapters that we talked about that you complete with your instructor. And until next time, this is Sam Zakarian. Looking forward to seeing you again. Have a great day.